Yo, what is up? Welcome back to the Burnout Washburn podcast. It is a beautiful day to be alive. Sending you all the love, all the good vibes. I appreciate you tuning in today. Investing in your personal growth. Raising your vibration. Raising the vibration of the whole collective. Shout out to everyone who's been supporting this podcast. I can't thank you guys enough. We have been absolutely crushing it lately. It seems like every day I'm just getting more and more DMs on Instagram from people screenshotting episodes and tagging me or just sending me little messages saying like, yo, thank you so much for your podcast. I've been listening to these and they really helped me out. Or, I like it when you guys send me something specific that my podcast helped you with. It's really, really inspiring, motivates me to keep going, and shows me that hey, this thing actually is valuable and it is a very worthy usage of my energy. Even if each episode I record just only helps one person, it helps one people. If it helps one person, then it's more than worth my energy. There's an old classic story that's about a starfish where an old man walks up onto a beach and sees a little boy and notices there's just thousands of starfish washed up on this beach. As far as the eye can see, there's starfish everywhere. And he notices this little boy is picking up the starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. And he walks over to the boy and he says, young man, what are you doing? You couldn't possibly make a difference. There's thousands upon thousands of starfish here. There's no way you're going to ever even come close to getting all of them. And he says, picks up one more starfish, looks at the old man and says, to this starfish, it makes all the difference. Throws it into the ocean. And I probably butchered that story. You probably heard it told more eloquently or whatever, but you get my point. If it helps one person, it's worth my time. So I appreciate you guys spreading the word. I appreciate you helping me grow. Shout out to all the Patreon supporters. A lot of you guys have been throwing $5, $10, $20 a month, and it's really going a long way to help spread this work and help impact more people and enrich more lives. So I really appreciate you. Your money every month is just going to a beautiful cause and just really helping people up-level their lives in beautiful ways. So I can't thank y'all enough. Now let's jump into today's episode. This episode was inspired by having kind of like an off few days. Like they weren't off, they were still really good days. However, I was really irritable and stressed out and impatient and just a little bit like flustered and kind of a little bit off the last few days. And there were still lots of beautiful moments, and my off days in 2020 are better than like my on days and in some other parts of my life. So I'm doing pretty well. But there's always a contrast, between like the blissed out heaven on earth frequencies that I've been feeling to like sometimes just waking up and being angry or frustrated or stressed out or irritable and not really knowing why and resisting it so much that you cause even more tension. So I was inspired from kind of overcoming that. And then I was listening to some really good podcasts, and I was reading a really good book, and I read a really insightful email, and just the combination of things led me to feel like I gotta share this on an episode, because so many of us, we get in moods sometimes, Sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Sometimes you're just upset, angry, frustrated for no reason. And I wanted to share some vulnerability with you guys and let you know that I experience a full range of human emotions as well. There's times when I experience anxiety, stress, anger, all these things. And when I come on here and talk about heaven on earth and being blissed out, I really am feeling that. That's not fake. It's not spiritual bypassing. It's really my truth. And my truth is also that I sometimes fall from grace and sometimes tap into less desirable emotions, as we all do, So I wanted to share just a few things that'll help pull you out of a funk, help put you into a better mood, and overall help you raise your vibration, especially if you're feeling a little low, if you're maybe just a slight tiny bit off today for some reason. By the end of this episode, you're going to have some insights and some new tools to help lift you out of that and help bring you back up to the beautiful vibrations that you love being on. So, first and foremost, the thing that I want to say is whatever we resist persists. Whatever we don't want to experience and we focus lots of energy on how we do not want this and how it's undesirable, we create more of that. So oftentimes we kind of get into a negative spiral because we have just a few little negative emotions come up and then we don't want to feel those, so we resist them, and then we almost like combat them or go to war against them, and then all we do is create more of what we don't want. That's something I talk about all the time because it's always so true. It's just radical acceptance is the key. Once we accept our emotions, we all of a sudden make space for them to like go away or to be transmuted. And it sounds like a paradox, and it's very hard to do sometimes when you're in the midst of it, when the anger feels super real or when the anxiety is really hitting you. It's hard to realize that, like, it's hard to just accept it. And even if you intellectually know, like, okay, I'm supposed to just accept this and surrender to this, it's so hard because your ego is just like, I gotta fight this negative emotion right now, and I shouldn't be feeling like this. And there's a way we feel, and then there's also a way we feel about the way we feel. So you might be feeling anxiety, and then on top of that, you're feeling guilt or stress because of the anxiety, because you think you shouldn't be feeling anxiety right now. So then you have a way that you feel about the way you feel. And this plays out in so many different ways. You might feel angry, and then you're upset with yourself for feeling angry because you think that you should be perfect all the time and you shouldn't be angry right now. So it's okay to feel all different emotions. That's why there's that saying that says it's okay to not be okay. However, we don't want to get trapped in emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, and when we try to suppress them rather than accept them, we sometimes create shadows. You know, that's when you hear about people bottling things up and then they blow up on someone later because they didn't express their emotions as they arose. They just put them down in this little bottle somewhere, and they're just like, I'm not going to feel this right now because this is a bad emotion. I don't want to feel this. So I'm just going to tuck it away and pretend it doesn't exist. And then later it always surfaces, and usually it surfaces in a toxic way if we've been bottling it up a lot. So it's okay to feel the feels and find healthy ways to navigate them, because emotions can be tricky. So energy in motion, first thing, you just got to understand that all emotions are temporary. There's never been, if you really think about it, has there ever been a time when you felt the exact same emotion for an entire year straight? No, I guarantee there's probably never even been a time when you felt the exact same emotion for an entire day straight. There might be days where you were like really happy or grateful all day, but there were still fluctuations in how you feel like. And for the most part, every storm runs out of rain. Every emotion is temporary. It's here to teach you something, and it's just moving through you. It's not here to stay. It's not permanent. It's not how you're always going to feel. And we tend to get in these weird kind of patterns when negative emotions arise, where we think that this is going to last forever. And the same thing when things are going really well, we think it's always going to be like this. And all right, I figured out the secret to life now, and everything's just blissed out from here on out. And I'm like, that's almost how I felt like a month ago. I was feeling so good for so many days in a row. I was like, man, I think I must have mastered all my emotions, and I must have like released all my demons and cleared up all my karma and healed all my trauma and released all and reprogrammed myself completely. And I think I have a lot. It was just funny because I thought that like I'm never going to experience like a negative emotion again. This is like I have the secret to life. And then, of course, some undesirable emotions started rising, and then I resisted them super hard because I wanted to be back in heaven on earth, blissed out. And by the way, you can be in heaven on earth and experience a range of emotions. I think that is heaven on earth. Like, I don't think heaven means you're just like completely happy all the time and you never once ever get sad or anxious ever again. Like, I like the range of emotions. I love the contrast. I appreciate my emotions are teachers. Life is my teacher. Everything that happens is my teacher. So there's a way we feel, and then there's a way we feel about the way we feel. And I was feeling just a little bit lower vibe than I had been. And so then I started attaching all these extra feelings and extra meanings to how I was feeling, thinking that I was going to keep feeling like this, or that I needed to like do something to stop feeling like this, and thinking that I shouldn't be feeling like this. So almost all of my suffering didn't come from the quote unquote negative emotions themselves. My suffering came from resisting these emotions, thinking that I should not be feeling these emotions. And instead of just accepting, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now, and this is temporary, and it's okay. This will change. This is not going to be forever, and I'll get through this. Instead, I was like, why am I so anxious and stressed right now? Like I shouldn't be. And I was just like trying to use my rational thought to try and to tell my emotions, which never works. Like, hey, you shouldn't be feeling like this because. And I kept just really trying super hard to like fix these emotions. And I think trying to fix something was like what was keeping it broken. And even though rather than accepting wasn't even broken in the first place, it was just natural ebb and flow of life. Much like the weather, much like just life in general, things are just constantly flowing and cycling and evolving and going in patterns. So there's never a reason to get super upset or super stressed out or whatever for long periods of time, because it's not permanent. If it's raining, it's not going to rain forever. And if it's sunny, it's not going to be sunny forever. And if it's snowing, it's not going to snow forever. And it can feel like that, when you're in the middle of winter and it's just been frozen and it's gray skies every day and you feel like the sun's never going to shine again. It can feel like that. It can feel like it's dragging on forever and you just would wish you would be feeling something different. But the magic comes in acceptance. When we accept things, they somehow lose their power, or we become empowered by them, or we're able to transmute them, alchemize them in a way that serves us. So I want to read something from an email that I read. This is an email that I read from Aubrey Marcus. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might have read this already because I posted it on my story. And I got a lot of replies on this one. I got a bit more replies than normal. So I read through this multiple times, and just the more I read it, the more profound it becomes. And it also resonates a lot with me because Aubrey Marcus talks about Muji, who's one of his favorite Buddhist teachers, and I've been like really on a Muji kick randomly, and I didn't know Aubrey Marcus was also on a Muji kick. Muji just came up to me on suggested YouTube videos as I was watching a lot of Deepak Chopra. I was watching a lot of just different guided meditations and spiritual wisdom, a lot of Sahad Guru, a lot of Kyle Cease, and just a lot of different spiritual teachers. And Muji came up on my suggested feed, and I'm very grateful. Every time I've ever watched a Muji video, I'm like, who is this guy? Like this is the truth, like the truth of all truths. Like everything he's saying just resonates so deeply to my core. So I really appreciate him, and I'm just grateful that Great Spirit has brought his teachings into my life. And as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the more I become ready, the more new teachers keep coming into my life. And there was a time when like Jack Canfield was my biggest teacher, and then there was a time when I became ready for the teachings of Tony Robbins, and then he was like just rocking my world. Everything he said was just resonating to the core, and then it just keeps evolving. And I still follow those other teachers that I just mentioned to this day still, and newer teachers that are emerging now that I might have not been ready for 10 years ago. If they came into my life, I might have not really understood them or whatever. So very grateful for how everything flows. I'll just go ahead and just read, I'm not going to read you the full email. I'm just going to read you just a part of it, just a few clippings from Aubrey Marcus's email, and maybe this might inspire you to check out Aubrey Marcus's podcast and maybe subscribe to his email list, because his newsletters are usually pretty on point. And I really just appreciate him, and he's becoming kind of like a brother that I don't even know in real life. And shout out to Aubrey Marcus. I have a vision that I'll be homies with him someday, and I'll be interviewed on his podcast someday soon. And I'm starting to have like mutual friends, and I'm starting to run in circles where like some friends of mine have been interviewed by him, or they are friends with him, and it'll all happen. But anyway, I'll just read you a little snippet out of this email. So Aubrey says, Muji, one of my favorite Buddhist teachers, once said the following: if you are chasing happiness, it will run away. When you stop chasing happiness, it'll come and kiss you on the cheek. What does he mean by this? Aren't we founded under the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? We are. But perhaps there is some unproductive advice woven in there. To be in pursuit of something is to acknowledge that you don't have whatever you are chasing. Otherwise, why would you chase it? You wouldn't. You would just be in acceptance of what you have. It is a worthy endeavor to pursue your purpose, your potential, or the fruition of some particular intention. But that is different than happiness. Happiness comes from acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm toward your present experience. Full stop. It is not something that happens in the future or the past. It is always right now. But if you can't get yourself into a state of happiness right now, don't stress. It happens to all of us. Instead, focus on being of service to someone else. It doesn't mean you are responsible for their happiness. That's up to them. What it means is that you are doing your best to help them however you can. Take care of their basic needs, give your spouse a massage, help your kids with their homework, move a friend out of their apartment, smile at a stranger, not in a creepy way. Research shows over and over that one of the best ways to get out of depression is to stop focusing on yourself and help other people. So what are you going to do to help someone today? That's so powerful. And it's very true. I like how he says, when you chase happiness, it runs away from you. When you stop trying to chase it, it'll just come and kiss you on the cheek. And then the biggest point, I think, in all of this is saying that, happiness is not something that comes from achieving a goal or a certain accolade or reaching a certain level of success. It just comes from right here, right now, from just accepting what the present moment experience has to offer. When you accept all the blessings and just everything of the present moment, that's when you find true happiness. That's when happiness comes around and kisses you on the cheek. So often we're in the past or the future, and like they say, living in the past creates depression. Living in the future creates anxiety. And then the second biggest point in all of this, which is a big part of this whole episode and something that I talk about all the time, the fastest way to pull yourself out of a funk is to go and lift someone else up. The fastest way to get out of your own head is to go be of service. The fastest way to end all of your suffering and all of these undesirable emotions is to stop focusing on your damn self and focus on what you can do for others. I notice this all the time. Even every morning I go out and I do some barefoot grounding and qigong in the sun, and I do my EFT tapping and my little chakra meditations. And even while I'm doing all that high vibe work, my mind can sometimes still get super busy and run to some undesirable places. And then whenever I shift from thinking about how I'm feeling and what I need to do and what I want and da 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 and me, I shift and I put my hand on my heart and I watch the cars driving by and I give them all silent, sacred blessings, genuinely from my heart, just sending all my love and energy to these people in these cars as they drive past my house. And I picture blessings coming into their life. I picture them making new friends and just I picture them out traveling and being in nature and being healthy and enjoying their lives. I picture them receiving unexpected checks and financial blessings, and I just visualize them thriving and being well and just send them blessings from my heart. And when I really do this, it's like I almost forget that I even exist. All my problems go away, and I'm just like a pencil in the hand of God. And I'm just an instrument of the divine carrying out the greater good intentions of the universe. And I just completely get out of my own way, and I'm of service. And it's not like these people even necessarily know that I'm blessing them. You know, my intention is that they might just just a good emotion kind of comes through them unexpectedly after they drive past my house, and they might not know why. They're feeling good today. And it's like completely selfless and completely unattached because they're moving by my house so fast. I'm not expecting a thank you. I'm not expecting anything in return. And so often with our giving, we're doing it with the slight ego intention involved. We might have like a higher self intention that really wants to give, but then there's also this ego intention behind it that like wants to be thanked for it or wants to be rewarded or acknowledged for it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be acknowledged and appreciated and all that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it's extra powerful when we give just completely unattached, where we genuinely don't want or need or expect anything in return. We're genuinely just giving because we want to give. We're genuinely just serving because we feel overflowed to the brim, and we're just letting Source channel blessings through us onto another. It feels so good. So I've talked about this before on another episode, which is something I learned from Marie Forleo, and she calls it like the flashlight metaphor. And she basically says, at any given time, we have a flashlight in our hands, and that flashlight can only be shining one of two directions. It can either be shining on ourselves, exposing all of our problems, all of our flaws, and all of our shortcomings, and just making us hyper-focus on what's wrong with us and what's wrong with our life. Or we can turn that flashlight around and shine it on who we're trying to serve, who we're trying to help, who we can uplift, who we can add value to. And in that moment, when we shine the light on another, it's like all of our problems just naturally fix themselves. Solutions are found, our needs are met. Everything seems to work out magically when we're just not even thinking about ourselves and we're genuinely in a state of service. So that's kind of my biggest tip is anytime you're feeling off, like what can you do for another? And it might take a minute. You might need to do some other things first to just like let the emotions out. And I think that's why I do Qigong and EFT tapping and breath work and meditation and exercise and eating healthy and prioritizing sleep and rest. And all these things are very important, so do those things first and take care of all those bases if you need to. And then immediately switch yourself into being of service. Find something that you can do for someone else to make their life a little bit better. And it doesn't need to be something huge. You don't need to spend money. You can donate money, you can donate time, you can do whatever. You can smile at someone, hold a door open for someone. It doesn't need to be huge. Just switch, get out of your own head, and use yourself as an instrument. Let yourself become a divine tool that's just carrying out the greater good intentions of the universe. And sometimes when we're in a funk and we're not feeling off, then it's as simple as we just haven't slept enough, or we haven't given our body the proper nutrients that it needs. So making sure that you're well nourished, making sure that you're prioritizing sleep and then that you're getting your body all the vitamins and minerals it needs, and a high vibe organic living diet of living foods that are not processed, that are not GMO, that are not sprayed and covered in pesticides. Those things can have a profound impact on your mood. A lot of people are angry and upset because they're eating things that are angry and upset. They're eating things that have been tortured and poisoned, whether it's plants or animals, if they've been mistreated in the process from, their natural state and to in between the natural state and your belly, then basically you're eating those negative emotions. And so that could be a huge part of it. So take good care of your body, making sure, you can be in a really off mood if you're just low on B vitamins or magnesium and stuff like that. So keeping your nutrition on point, that's one of the biggest reasons that I care so much about health and wellness and nutrition. It's not just like vain aesthetic purposes, although like I have, aspirations of reaching my aesthetic greatness and, I want to look amazing. But the main reason I'm so into eating healthy, organic, living foods and like a colorful variety, of foods is because of how it affects my mood, and it's not just how people might not think about it because they might eat some junk food and they feel amazing 5 minutes after and they're feeling great. I'm talking about the overarching feeling that happens when you've been doing that for months, or just, if you're kind of feeling fatigued and lethargic, like what you ate yesterday and the day before and last week is affecting your mood today more than like what you ate 5 minutes ago is affecting it. It kind of takes a while. So that's one thing to consider. And then, if you got all that on point, then switch to be of service and just work on accepting what is rather than trying to resist it. So I want to read a quick page out of this book that I've been reading every day. The book is called Get What You Want, The Art of Making and Manifesting Your Intentions by Tony Burrows. And it's on my reading list. If you've checked that out, it's on medium.com. You can type in Burnell Washburn reading list and you'll find it. I think the title of it is 24 Books That Made Me a Better Person or something like that. And this is one of the first books on that list because it's really been a helpful friend. I'm so grateful that this book came into my life. I noticed that it was on the bookshelf at my baby's mama's house, and I noticed like I hadn't seen anyone like touch it, or it didn't seem like anyone is actively reading it. So I just it kept calling to me and nudging me, and I picked it up a couple times, and then one time I picked it up and I was gonna put it back, and I didn't even have a chance to read it. I think I read the back or something. And then my daughter just put it in my bag, and I got home and it was baby's mama texted me hey, did you take a book from my house? And I was like, oh shit, I did accidentally, because Olivia put it in my bag, and I'm so sorry. So I brought it back, and then I brought it back to her, and then a week later she was just hey, you can actually have this book. I'm not reading it right now. You can just have this book. And I think she was doing some decluttering and stuff, and it was the universe was basically conspiring for me to have this book, and I've loved every page so far. And I'm using it as a tarot style book where every morning I just go out after my meditation bath and I sit in the sunshine and I open up to a random page, and whatever page that I read is just the message that I needed to hear that day. And so there's been some pages that I've opened up to many, many times, and this is one of those pages that I keep opening up to for some reason. So I wanted to share that with you, and it is aligned with everything we're talking about here on today's episode. So this is, this is called the first intent, support life. I refrain from opposing or harming anyone. I allow others to have their own experiences. I see life in all things and honor it as if it were my own. I support life. So that's kind of the little mantra. Every page has a little sort of mantra type thing at the top. So this one says, I refrain from opposing or harming anyone. I allow others to have their own experiences. I see life in all things and honor it as if it were my own. I support life. These teachings are meant to reveal the true nature, the true power of your thoughts to you. Each thought you entertain either takes you closer to your joy or further from it, and it is for you to discern in each moment which of your thoughts are serving you and which of your thoughts are not serving you. Since you are becoming that which you hold your attention upon, you would be wise to support life in all that you think and all that you say. Up until now, much has been hidden from mankind concerning the dynamics of your thoughts, and you have not been properly taught how to think. Now, however, these teachings are being made available to all so that you can sharpen your thinking processes and create better lives for yourselves. As you truly look to support life, you will soon see that one of the most detrimental things you can do is oppose someone. When you oppose anyone, you invite your worst fears to come alive. By taking a defensive stance against anything or anyone, you are actually creating or setting the scene for you to be attacked. It works in this way. Your thoughts are always creating your future. When you are opposing others, it is because you are picturing someone else doing something bad to you. This is a thought, and like all thoughts, it is working its way into the stream of your daily experiences. Whether the person you are thinking about is a grouchy neighbor, a terrorist, a soldier, or an attacker of any kind, doesn't matter. What matters is you understand that your thought of being attacked is going to manifest as quickly as any other thought. You must learn that it is you who ultimately makes the choices about which thoughts you place your attention on. It is you who invites goodness or chaos into your experience. It is you who is responsible for your creation. One of the greatest lessons in life is that you attract to yourself and must live out in your everyday experience that which you oppose. You must learn to allow others to go through life without your interference, and know that your unwanted experiences will cease only when you have finally relinquished your tendency to resist them. Your opposition to anything, be it a person or an institution, always makes things worse. My intention for today: I always remember that harming another will never give me the results I desire. And that's really relevant to right now, because there's so many things going on that people are resisting and fighting against and protesting and opposing, and they're very vocal about it. And there's people going to super extremes, creating violence, and two wrongs that just never make a right. Like never in the history of the universe have two wrongs made a right. So if someone does something bad that you don't like, that you perceive as negative, opposing it or going against it, or doing what some people are doing, which is setting things on fire and blowing shit up and fighting and killing each other over it, and all that does is create more of what we collectively do not want. So does that mean we just turn a blind eye and just let people suffer and let chaos happen and let people treat people however they want? No. I think we come together through love and unity. Imagine if instead of protesting, like right now there's a lot of violence going on, and there's a lot of cops that are killing, mostly black people, which is just absolutely absurd and just breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart to see innocent people getting abused and killed and terrorized by our own system. And then it also breaks my heart to see people that are upset about that injustice creating more injustice because they're so angry, they're acting based on anger, and they haven't had time to sit and process their emotions and come into a state of love and align with their higher selves. So it's, that's usually the first reaction when you're angry or when you see an injustice. You want to freak out and kill someone or light something on fire or break something, or That's how anger always wants to act. And if you sit with that anger for a little bit longer, what you'll realize is that there beneath that anger is there's actually love and compassion. And you realize, wow, if police officers are, taking innocent people's lives because they're so fearful and they're so programmed, and, we should have compassion for them, not go light their shit on fire. And like I was just on Instagram and I saw lots of crazy stuff about this, and I don't want to really even focus on it. It was just relevant today. And I'm not trying to turn a blind eye. And, I recognize that I have like white privilege, and there's something like white people need to like stand up and do something about this. However, I don't think we do this. I don't think violence is ever going to be the answer. That's why I love Mother Teresa when she says, I will never attend an anti-war rally. If you have a pro-peace rally, hit me up. And I really believe that, because she knew, she was woke to the fact that whatever we focus on expands, and whatever we bring our attention to is what we create more of. So if like right now there's a bunch of people that were marching, repeating the affirmation, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't. Such a negative. And like, I think I'm slightly empathetic, and I was having difficulties breathing yesterday, and then I found out that was happening, and I was like, I wonder if that collective consciousness energy was like manifesting, and then then I had to give myself sovereignty from that and be in my own power. But I was like, maybe that collective energy was affecting me in a little bit. The phrase I can't breathe is not something we want to create more of, and we certainly don't want to create more violence and more fear. And if we act out violently, all that does is give these institutions and these powers that be like more of an excuse to like be corrupt, and more of an excuse to be fearful and use force and all these things. So that's not what I wanted to talk about on today's episode, but it was just a relevant example of like whatever we whatever we resist persists. Whatever we focus our attention on is what we create more of. So, what if we all got in a giant circle, instead of going to a police station and setting it on fire and smashing all the windows? What if we all did a giant group hug surrounding the police station and sending letters of compassion and offering gifts and peace, and like, I don't know, like we could find a peaceful, positive way to create massive, lasting change rather than just like getting angry and acting out of that initial anger. So, two wrongs never make a right, and if we sit with our emotions long enough, we can always find a higher road. We can always find a peaceful route to a solution. So, that was basically the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. I could go on this subject for hours. I think I basically made my points already, though, so I'm going to wrap this thing up. But I just wanted to remind you that it's okay to feel the feels. It's okay to experience a range of emotions. Just remember, they're not temporary. Sometimes you need to shake your body. Sometimes you need to exercise. Sometimes you need to go on a long walk. Sometimes you need to do some breath work. Sometimes you just need to take a nap. And sometimes you just need to just surrender and just say, okay, I'm pissed off right now, whatever. I'm just going to be pissed off right now, and just let yourself be that way. Instead of trying to resist it, instead of trying to change it. And when you just give yourself permission to feel those things that you don't want to feel, you'll find that they sometimes just go away by themselves, or you can transmute them really quickly. And when I read that email that I read to you earlier, or that I read a snippet from earlier, it really helped me turn my day around. And then I shifted my energy to being of service and decided, okay, I can record a podcast on this. All my energy changed from like wallowing in my own suffering to who can I help? Oh, I bet there's other people that are going through this too. And now I have some insight that could help them. Okay. And then all of a sudden my problems were gone, and I was like back on a super high vibe, because I switched to being of service rather than just constantly focusing on what was wrong in my life. Turn that flashlight around. And then lastly, whatever we resist persists. So it benefits us so much to just surrender and accept. And I think people get tripped up on that because they think it means we're turning a blind eye. Like, okay, if I don't stand up against like murderers and rapists and stuff, then they're just gonna keep like running amok on this planet, and they're gonna keep, doing all this evil, and I can't just let them do that. I gotta do something. I gotta lock these people up. I gotta kill these people. I gotta, like whatever the things that we do gets a little bit intense, it's crazy, and we think that's the ego. The ego thinks it needs to take this like abrasive, massive action to change someone outside of us, when really we need to look at our look at myself. It starts with us. Where inside us are we fearful? Where inside us are we suffering? Where inside us are we racist? Where inside us are we violent and angry? Where inside us are we all these things that we don't like? So instead of trying to look at the outside world and trying to change all them, let's forgive ourselves. Let's make peace with ourselves, and let's work on finding new ways and new thoughts and habits that serve us and serve the collective, rather than always trying to resist all these things we don't like, and just, because all it does is just create more of it. And if we watch the news, all we do is create more bad news, because we're collectively focusing on bad news. CNN, constant negative news. Watch that shit and create more of what we don't like. Yay! How about we spend all of our energy celebrating each other, loving each other, focusing on the solution, focusing on the blessings. I think what needs to happen, and I think I talked about this a while back. I think it's sad that like these, violent acts keep happening, but I think, it's all happening for a reason. All this negativity, quote unquote, is bubbling up to the surface so we can look at it, so we can heal it, so we can transcend it and transmute it. And I really think that it's all a blessing in disguise. Even the most like absurd, heinous, negative seeming things are huge gifts, huge blessings in disguise, here to help us grow. Even me being in an off mood the other day, or just a little bit of a funk, was like a huge blessing, and I'm grateful for it. It makes the good times so much better. It makes, the contrast is so nice, helps you appreciate when things are going well, and you learn so much from it. So, what I think we could do, one solution moving forward regarding some current events, is what if we started really going out of our way to celebrate people who are peaceful, and what if we start giving awards for cops who haven't used their gun or haven't used their taser? Like, guess what? You've been on the force for 6 months. You haven't had to break out your taser once. You get a reward. You're getting a raise. If you've apprehended X amount of criminals without hurting any of them, or, taking any of their rights away, or, violating causing any injustice on them, you should get a raise or a reward. And then obviously if you violate, you get fired or whatever like that. But let's not focus all our energy on the one cop, and I know it's not just one, but let's not focus all our energy on the few cops that have like done injustice. Let's focus all our energy on the other thousands of cops that haven't, that are actually nice guys, that are nice men and women that are there to serve, that want to help humanity, that are really like genuinely like in it for the right reasons. It's like we big up doctors a lot. We give lots of praise to doctors. Oh, they're saving lives, they're healing. But actually doctors are, causing more deaths and more pain and suffering and discomfort statistically than they are healing, when it comes to malpractice, when it comes to unnecessary surgeries and unnecessary procedures that they implement to make money, unnecessary prescription medications that cause way more harm than good, all of these things. And yet we don't focus all of our attention on the doctors that are doing that. We don't focus all of our energy on like, look at these malpractice, look at all these doctors that are, doctors need to be burned, and we're not going and burning down hospitals, because our focus is on look at all these doctors that are helping, and we choose to focus our energy on the ones that are doing good, that are not committing malpractice and that are not prescribing unnecessary medications or whatever. Like we choose to look at them as healers, and we praise them. And then, if we just look at it like everything has like its ups and downs and its dark sides and its shadows, and everything also has its like blessings. And there's a lot of cops that are probably just such good-hearted, awesome people with beautiful intentions doing great things. And then there's also some that are fearful and shady and corrupt and all that. And whatever ones we focus our more attention on is which ones we'll create more of. So if we want more compassionate, kind-hearted, loving, good cops, let's start rewarding them. Let's start praising them. Let's start giving them more and more attention. And let's just, not, if a cop does use excessive force or does violate someone's rights, let's just kind of quietly fire them, take away their badge and their gun, and not really talk about them and not really put a bunch of energy on them, because we don't want more of them. That's the last thing. They're evil, they're bad, they're hurting us. Let's not create more of those by focusing on them. All right? Like, I really believe this, and I believe that, I recognize that I have white privilege and I don't fully even know what that means, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be black, and I've been persecuted in my own neighborhood for just looking like a stoner. And, I used to get pulled over every single time I drove my car. And every time I walked down the street, I would get pulled over. And I've been brutalized by cops, and I've been taken to jail for no reason. And I've had my rights taken away, and I've experienced like a small degree of that. And I'm like an innocent looking white person. So I can't even imagine what it would be like to be black. You'd probably be scared as shit. And that sucks. I don't want my black homies walking around scared, because we're all one. We're all beautiful, divine, God incarnated as these illusions of separation. We're not separate in any way, shape, or form, and justice done to one violates us all. So I am the last person that wants any injustice, and I don't want, when I come in here and say, let's not focus on this injustice, that's because I don't want the injustice. It's not because I'm turning a blind eye and, I just have white privilege, so I'm just going to pretend that everything's all sunshine and rainbows. And shout out to everyone that showed love on my new track, Sunshine and Rainbows. But I'm not going to just pretend everything's all good because I'm over here in my white privilege and it doesn't affect me. I'm saying, no, this is a real issue. And so in order to find the solution, let's focus on the blessings. I just presented a solution. Let's start praising cops that don't use force. Let's start awarding, rewarding, giving raises to anyone who's not, rather than focusing all our attention on who's fucking up. And I mentioned this on another episode, which is the last thing I'll say before I wrap this episode up. In an African culture, I can't remember which tribe, or I think it might just be a thing that's kind of in lots of indigenous tribes around the world and throughout history, where when a tribe member makes a massive mistake and fucks up, instead of incarcerating them or throwing them in prison with a bunch of other criminals and saying you're wrong and you're evil and you're bad and screw you and all that, they sing them that the song of their soul. They remind them who they are. They have a big ceremony to remind this person that, hey, you're better than that. You don't need to steal or rape or kill or do this. Remember, you're part of our tribe and we love you and we care about you. And they remind them of their divinity, and they bring them back to grace as a collective, rather than punishing them and criticizing them and blaming them and just holding them down. Hey, let's bring you back to the light, homie. We notice you were acting in a way that is not like you, and it's not like what your tribe raised you to be like. So let's just remind you your truth, that you're a divine, awesome being, and we love you, and we're here for you, and we have your back. And hey, you don't need to steal, because we'll help you figure out your needs. And hey, you don't need to lie or cheat or anything like that, because we all just love and accept you unconditionally. And that's the way that you take someone who's messing up and you bring them back to the light so they stop messing up, rather than, if you take someone who's messing up and you just lock them in a cage with a bunch of other people who are messing up, all it does is just create more of them messing up. And I really think that, there's just a positive solution moving forward, and everything that's happening right now is a huge blessing in disguise. So as a collective, let's not resist it, and let's just accept that this is where we are, and let's find the beauty in it and transmute it into something that serves us all. So I love you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you who are tuning in, all of you who are screenshotting this and sharing it on your story. It means the world to me. If you got value from this at all, please consider supporting on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/burnellwashburn, or you can just click the link in the show notes, and you can contribute, 5, 10, 20 bucks a month, whatever feels comfortable or aligned for you. And it really goes a long way to help spread this message and help uplift and enrich more lives. So really appreciate you. And even if you're not supporting on Patreon, you can just screenshot this or send me a little message. Hey, I really liked today's episode or whatever. And like that can help be the marketing. That's the word of mouth that we're doing. We're not doing advertising. I don't really have official sponsors or anything on here right now that I'm actively, not like actively trying to sell you guys everything. Like most of these episodes, I'm just providing value on value on value. And a lot of other people are always just trying to sell you products and services and coaching and all that. And it's not like there's anything wrong with that. I just like being able to come on here and speak from my heart and not have to rely solely on advertising or affiliate income to keep this thing alive. So your guys' Patreon support helps that. And, I love repping sponsors when they're aligned. I love sharing brands and products and services that are, run by good people that I think benefit humanity and benefit the planet. So there probably will be sponsors on here soon. But for now, it's you guys just helping spread the word. And I just can't thank you enough for helping this thing grow and helping impact more lives. So sending you all the love, all the richest vibrations. I want you to know how loved you are, how beautiful you are. And you deserve all the blessings no matter what. You deserve to have an amazing life. You deserve to feel fulfilled and happy and just wake up every day excited. So keep working through those emotions as they come up. Some days are trickier than others. Some days you wake up on cloud 9 for no reason and you're just happy and just excited and energetic. And when you're feeling those days, milk it, harness it, exaggerate it, talk about it, get stoked on it, and try to, draw it out as long as you can and just appreciate it and really soak it up. And then there's days when you wake up and you're just on the wrong side of the bed and everything's pissing you off and everything's a struggle bus. Embrace those days too. Know that they're not permanent. Know that every storm runs out of rain, and you ultimately are creating your own reality based on what you're focusing on and based on what your vibration is. So you can always raise your vibration. Sometimes it's a little faster and easier than others, but it's always available to you, and you have the power. You're working with the same power that creates universes. You are a magical, divine being. I'm sending you all the love. I will see you soon on another episode. Much love.